So the great thing about the progressive YouTube channel in general is that historically speaking, the progressive YouTube channel community has consistently projected the same coherent, cohesive platform to their audiences. But that if you look at any one individual progressive YouTube channel, there's something that they have that is unique and insightful that they add to the conversation. And so, like, for example, if you look at David Pakman, Secular Talk, TYT, they all are basically reporting on the same stories, on the same Donald Trump, but that they all have something really unique and insightful to add to the conversation, to the progressive YouTube community. That being said, however, I am really concerned that that is going to change soon, or that it already has changed. And this is incredibly dangerous and detrimental in my view. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about specifically Robert Mueller. So I did a video on this, I think a week ago or so, where I did my first Robert Mueller story, where I talked about how I intentionally stayed out of the collusion, obstruction of justice conversation my entire YouTube channel's lifespan. And I did that intentionally because I didn't really think that there was enough evidence and there was enough overwhelming, convicting evidence that I could share with my audience to suggest that Trump is guilty of obstruction of justice or collusion. There were many, well, not many, there's not a lot out there in general, but a good chunk of the progressive YouTube channel community placed a lot of bets on Robert Mueller over the last year. And what's really annoying is that William Barr, I think is his, I don't know if I think his name is William Barr, has not released Robert Mueller's full report. And there are half of the progressive YouTube channels that are just basically saying, listen, stay out of it. So you have, like, for example, Kyle Kalinske, I believe the Humanist Report, Progressive Voice. Those YouTube channels have pretty much stayed out of it. And I think that was the correct move because there just wasn't enough convincing evidence that you can just give to your audience to suggest that there was obstruction of justice or collusion. So they're staying out of it. But you have progressive YouTube channels like David Pakman, TYT. They're doubling down on the Robert Mueller story. And this is incredibly dangerous because when you go to those YouTube channels, you're now seeing a bunch of videos about Robert Mueller, how there's something there. There's still something. Don't give up. Don't give up. And I just really think that those YouTube channels are starting to gear, instead of towards policy, they're starting to make bets, and they're trying to not give up on the bets that they've made. And so I want to show you guys something from David Pakman that I watched, and you might not gain this sort of insight that I got, but my view when I watch this, I feel like there are progressive YouTube channels out there like David Pakman, unfortunately. He's one of my favorite. He's been consistently one of my favorite YouTube commentators. I feel like he's going in a direction where he's leaving policy and he's starting to emphasize a lot of things that are not necessarily ontological in the sense that you can talk about them and have evidence and the message be clear. I think he's just making a lot of guesses at this point. And you lose a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility when you make bets and you talk about things and it doesn't really matter to the public. And so I like the direction that the Humanist Report, Kyle Kalinske, Progressive Voice, they're going in the right direction in my view. But I want to show you guys a video from David Pakman that really emphasizes how I think that there is a side of the progressive YouTube community is going in a direction that I don't like. Take a look.
Explain this, but Donald Trump appears not to know or to be lying about where his father was born, which is a really weird thing. I mean, I'm sort of struggling for the language to apply here. When Donald Trump said that Nambia was a country, could have been a verbal slip. He probably just doesn't have a firm grasp on African countries and geography, and that would sort of be expected. A lot of people don't have a firm grasp on African geography. When Donald Trump said he's done more than any president ever for Puerto Rico, he might not know that he's been a disaster on Puerto Rico. It might be a political calculation in some way. Maybe he forgot that he actually hasn't been that great for Puerto Rico. But Donald Trump has claimed again that his father was born in Germany, and his father wasn't born in Germany. Donald Trump's grandfather was born in Germany. And this is raising more questions about cognitive decline. I don't bring this up to make fun of people. Cognitive decline is not funny. But if the president is suffering from cognitive decline or pre-dementia, we need to know that that's a major problem. And Donald Trump could sort of be dissociating here. He's moving information around in his mind, as people in various stages of cognitive decline sometimes do. It's his grandfather who's actually German, but he says that it was his father. Check out this video from the Oval Office. And if you notice, if you're watching, this thing happens that's common in people who start to struggle cognitively, but are still in the early stages. He starts to say his dad was born in Germany. But if you're looking at the reaction on his face, he seems to sort of recognize that something he's saying isn't quite right. It's almost like internal Trump is recognizing that external Trump is doing something a little bit weird. And it's not clear whether his mind can totally parse it. I mean, this is sad. Take a look at this.
I mean, Germany, honestly, is not paying their fair share. I have great respect for Angela, and I have great respect for the country. My father is German, right? Was German. And born in a very wonderful place in Germany. And so I have a great feeling for Germany, but they're not paying what they should be paying.
Yeah. So Trump's dad, Fred Trump, was born in New York. I mean, he wasn't born in Germany. Trump's grandfather, Friedrich Trump, was born in Germany, came to the United States in 1885. This is not good. And it actually gets even worse. Pat pointed out to me that there's another moment during this exact same press conference, press availability, I guess you would call it, where Donald Trump twice says the word oranges, like the citrus fruit, instead of origins, like the source of something. And again, both times he seems unsure of what he's saying. Something seems to glitch in his head where he realizes he's saying something wrong, but it's almost like beyond him to even control it. Take a look.
And I hope that this investigation now, which is finished, it's totally finished, no collusion, no obstruction. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. You look at the origin of the investigation, where it started, how it started, who started it, whether it's McCabe or Comey or a lot of them. Where does it go? How high up in the White House did it go? You will all get Pulitzer Prizes, okay? You're going to all get Pulitzer Prizes. You should have looked at it a long time ago. And that's the only thing that's disappointing to me about the Mueller report. The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges, how it started.
Yeah. What do you make of that, Pat? I mean, you can tell that he's not so far gone that he doesn't recognize. He's having trouble saying what he thinks he should be saying. There's definitely some recognition there, but it's very strange behavior.
He can definitely tell.
So I want you to consider this question for a second here. I know that you might be wondering, like, what does this have to do with the Mueller report and everything? I really need you to ask this question in general about what you just watched. What did you learn? What insight did you just learn from watching that? And I mean, I'm incredibly harsh when it comes to stories. When someone posts a video, when a progressive YouTube channel posts a video, the first thing I'm going to look for is something new, something interesting, something unique. And when I watch Progressive Voice, The Humanist Report, Kyle Kalinske, I have consistently seen videos that have provided insight to me in amazing ways. So Kyle Kalinske has reported on the Middle East in ways that are incredibly unique. He's reported on Medicare for All in ways that are unique. The Humanist Report has reported on Bernie Sanders in very unique ways. The Progressive Voice has contributed in, well, he's got really interesting titles. But when I listen to like his analysis, for example, on Steven Crowder, there was a video I watched recently when he did an analysis on Steven Crowder. It was incredibly insightful. I watched it and I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, that was a really interesting YouTube channel, and I learned something about Steven Crowder that I didn't know before. But I really need you guys to ask this question from that YouTube video that I just showed you from David Pakman. What did you learn? What new thing did he just contribute there? And I understand what he's trying to get at. He's trying to get at that Donald Trump is mentally incompetent, and that maybe we can go for the 25th Amendment or something like that, and that you should be concerned because he has, control over the nuclear codes. But this is not a new thing. There's nothing new here, because Donald Trump has repeatedly in the past said completely incoherent things. And to suggest that Donald Trump doesn't know where his dad was born, I'm not going to lie, I don't actually know where my dad was born. And maybe that's incredibly unique, but I'm not trying to defend Trump here. I'm trying to suggest that, what are you adding to the conversation? Donald Trump has said in the past, anonymous. He's misspoken so many times in the past. So why now? What are you adding? You're just adding to a list of many things that Donald Trump has already proven to us. And so you guys have to understand, David Pakman is one of my favorite progressive YouTube channels. I highly recommend you guys subscribe to him. But if you go to his channel page, something that I've noticed is that probably half of the recent videos have the word Mueller in it, or Barr, William Barr. Is it William Barr? I still don't know. But that to me is not something that I believe the progressive community has been focusing on in any way. Or at least they shouldn't be focusing on it. We should just wait for the report to come out and then read it, see what evidence there is, and make accusations based on that evidence. And sure, maybe we could do one video on how Robert Mueller's report still hasn't come out yet, and we should probably recommend, calling up your senators, calling up your politicians and saying, hey, we need Robert Mueller's report. And maybe, following up with the people who say, yeah, the Robert Mueller report's going to come out in a month and a half or something like that. But to do 3 videos a day on Robert Mueller, kind of excessive. And I just want to show you guys this. This is David Pakman's recent videos here. Mueller. This is the video I just showed you guys. Let's see here. Mueller. William Barr. Mueller. It just, in my view, that's incredibly excessive. In my view, there's not a lot to add because there's not a lot that we know. And it's incredibly difficult to convince an audience of a giant news story regarding Russian collusion. And it's like when you listen to, for example, Alex Jones, and I'm not comparing David Pakman to Alex Jones, I'm comparing the style here for a second. Conspiracy theorists, what they do, specifically Alex Jones, he'll go on this rant for 30 minutes to justify that what he's saying is in fact true. And then after a while, you start just kind of believing it. But if you look at the arguments within the just overwhelming amount of dialogue, it's lacking. There's so much lacking. There's not a lot of evidence, and it's not convincing if you take it bit by bit. And my YouTube audience has an attention span of, I think, 4 minutes. I think probably if you're still watching, you're probably only 10% of the people who are still watching. Why would you make so many videos saying all different things when you're suggesting, you got to look at the whole story? Jeez, I got to watch 50 videos to understand your argument when you can look at, for example, Michael Cohen's check, a picture, and know in 5 seconds the evidence against Donald Trump that he paid women off with hush money that was campaign contributions. and that Michael Cohen pled guilty for those things. My argument's over. I don't need anything else. That's my argument. And I think that my audience can understand that very, very quickly and easily. So I don't like how I feel like TYT and David Pakman, they're kind of going into this direction of not policy issue, but more sensationalism. And I cringe. Guys, you have to understand, like, I don't want you to put comments like, you hate David Pakman. David Pakman's like the greatest thing ever. You have to understand, I really like David Pakman. I've consistently watched him for the last 5 years now. I've consistently watched him. But I don't necessarily think that means that I need to give him just the benefit of the doubt whenever he does something like that's weird. I'm going to question him. And so this is a genuine criticism for David Pakman. If he ever watches this video, which maybe might happen, I have 1,000 subscribers now, and that happened in a month, which is crazy in my view. Thank you guys. But if he ever watches this video, I just want you to know, I think that you're going in a wrong direction here. I think you need to start focusing on policy. I think you need to start looking at various news media outlets and critiquing them. Whenever they make fun of Bernie Sanders, do a counter video. Whenever they make fun of Andrew Yang, do a counter video. Or maybe you want to do a counter video on Andrew Yang, like Jimmy Dore. Whatever, I just want policy. That's all I care about. I think thus far, there were only 2 videos that I've done that were not policy. And I feel like I get a pass, especially since the Humanist Report touched on one of them. And the other one, I guarantee progressive YouTube channels would jump on the story if they saw it. But I did a video on how John Hickenflooper watched porn with his mom. And that's the one that Humanist Report did a video on. I highly recommend taking a look at his video too. It's hilarious. He did a way better job than I did. And then the other one is I did a story on how Glenn Beck sexually assaulted his employees. I did that one yesterday, I think, and neither of those videos did well, but they should have because, well, maybe not, because my audience is probably more focused on policy. So this is just a warning. I'm just trying to help David Pakman. It's not a warning. I'm not going to do anything. It's not a threat, but I'm just trying to suggest to David Pakman and TYT and any other progressive YouTube channel out there that's watching this, that's going in that direction, reel it back in, guys. Policy.